Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to the Black Sabbath Ozzy Years Wrap Party. I have covered every one of the Black Sabbath Ozzy Years albums, including the live reunion album and the most recent release, 13. I had to include 13 and I had to include Reunion because if we're going to talk about Black Sabbath being part of Ozzy, we have to include everything for Ozzy. Reunion is included because it has two brand new songs that were on it, and 13 is included because it's a Black Sabbath album and it features Ozzy. All right. So we are talking about Black Sabbath, the Ozzy Years, one of the holy trinity of heavy metal. You got Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Led Zeppelin. When it comes to hard rock, heavy metal, they are the holy trinity, okay? And we're also talking, Ozzy, one of what's considered not, when we're talking about vocalists, we're talking vocalists, not singers. We're not talking skill. We're just talking, Ozzy is, the Prince of Darkness, the godfather of heavy metal, they say. So he has to be kind of in that holy trinity of metal vocalists, It's Ozzy, Robert Plant, Ian Gillan of Deep Purple. That's the holy trinities we're talking about, okay? Everything's always going to come back to those three bands when it comes to heavy metal as the holy trinity. Everybody can argue whatever they want every other way, including Led Zeppelin arguing that they don't belong in heavy metal. Fine. But when it comes to hard rock, heavy metal, those are the three, man. And this is a section of time in history, in 13, that has to be revered, looked at, studied, because this is important. This is where blues, jazz, and hard rock all come together and give birth to heavy metal on every level. Black Sabbath did a chunk of it, man. Like, those three bands wrote it all, okay? Between those three bands, every great riff, every great everything that will ever be written was done by those three bands. And if they didn't do it, they stole it from somebody else, okay? Led Zeppelin, I'm looking at you guys. All right. So, all jokes aside, I've got a structure and a format I have designed now, which I'm going to use for all of the rap parties going forward, since the rap party is going to become a monthly thing. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to review, this is broken into three sections. We've got the albums, my most played to my least played. Okay, so it's not what I consider the best to the worst. It's what I listen to the most to what I listen to the least. Some of these I had to kind of think about it because some of these albums I haven't had long enough to actually say how often I would listen to them, Technical Ecstasy specifically. So that one kind of could alter from where I put it on this list as we go, but right now this is where it's going to fall on the list when I get to that. I'm also done a best of Let's Turn You On to Black Sabbath. So if you had never listened to Black Sabbath before, these are the songs I'm going to put on there to turn you on to Black Sabbath. And to do this properly, I had to include one song from every album. I want to properly represent Black Sabbath. So it won't be a true best of. It won't be the top 10 Black Sabbath songs or what I used. This is what I would use to turn you on to Black Sabbath. So it's not even 100% necessarily a greatest hits. And you'll understand as I go through this. And I ran across a group online. I can't remember their names. I'll put them in here so I can properly reference them. That I ran into, and they do this cool thing where they put together an album based off of what they consider the worst of the worst. And I did not watch their list on Black Sabbath because when I put together my list, I didn't want their list to have any influence on my list. So there was nothing to do with that. I will go finally and watch their Black Sabbath one now that I've put this together and released this. But before doing this, I have not watched it. And what I'm calling it is the songs I put together to turn you off of Black Sabbath. You know. All right. Now, the turn you off, I don't focus on as much. And we're going to start with that. So if I'm going to turn you off to Black Sabbath, what I did is I put together 45 minutes, an LP, one vinyl of all songs I'd put on there if I wanted to turn you off of Black Sabbath, if I didn't really want you to listen to Black Sabbath. Everything I think would kind of make you go, meh. All right? So, very first song on here is Evil Woman, the UK release of Black Sabbath. I can't stand this song. I don't like this song. I am so glad it was on the UK release and not the North American release of the Black Sabbath album. I am glad I did not experience this song until I was an adult. Because if I had heard it as a teenager, I would have thought that this was one of the worst songs ever released. As an adult, I have a lot more respect for it. This would have ruined the Black Sabbath album for me if I had heard it as a kid. From there, we go into FX. FX is one of those little instrumental pieces, little kind of things that Iommi likes to put on albums in between before songs. Like he does Orchid before Lord of this World or Embryo before Children of the Grave. FX is just kind of a lot of echoey noise. I'm not huge into it. I don't like it. I thought it was a waste of space off of the album that it was on, and I believe it was volume 4, I want to say it was on. Maybe it was Sabotage. I don't remember. That's what the screen's for, right? It'll tell me everything. And it's telling you everything as all the pretty pictures are coming up to go with everything. So, yeah. Then we got Loner. Loner is off of 13. I struggled with which song off of 13 I wanted to put on here. I just... we'll come around to that afterwards, but Loner's on here off of 13. Air Dance, which is off of Technical Ecstasy. No, it's not. Sorry. Air Dance is off of... Never Say Die, I think. Anyways, yeah. That's how much I like Air Dance. I can't even remember which album's off of. I really just know. Okay, now this one's going to mess with all of you. Iron Man. Yes, I know, right? One of the big, great, giant... Okay, so if I'm trying to turn someone on to Black Sabbath, Iron Man is a great song, don't get me wrong. I have turned on a lot of young children onto Iron Man for that. And the movie Iron Man, using the song Iron Man, turned a whole generation on to the song Iron Man as well. But of all the songs off of Paranoid, Iron Man is probably what I would classify as the worst. Which says a shit ton about the Paranoid album, right? When Iron Man is the worst song on there. That's my representative of the Paranoid album on here. Okay. Then we've got Psycho Man. Iron Man into Psycho Man. And yes, this is actually the order I would put them in. Psycho Man is off the Reunion album. There's 2 songs on there. One went on the good album, one on the bad album, and you already know which one went which way. Psycho Man definitely felt like it was a Sabbath song, but it didn't feel like a real Sabbath song. It felt like it had definitely Sabbath elements to it musically. I would have liked to have heard a different vocalist on it, which I said before. Thrill of It All, it's not a bad tune. I had to pick a song off that album to go on here, so that's the one I went with. Dirty Women. I hate this song. I had a whole rant about this when I did the Technical Ecstasy album. I don't like the song. Not at all. Just no. And then Looking for Today. No. It's not a bad song. Thrill of It All and Looking for Today, they're not bad songs. Okay, let's be very clear. Just like Iron Man is not a bad song. It's just they're not the songs I would use to get someone into Black Sabbath. It's just... those aren't Sabbath to me. I mean, they are, but they just, yeah. Not the ones I want you to listen to and get into them. All right, so when it comes to doing what I would put together to turn someone on to Sabbath, I actually broke this into three. There's playlist one, which represents a 45-minute vinyl, and I've laid it out to match in order for a vinyl. Then there's a next part that adds onto it, which extends to a 74-minute long CD. And then I added a couple more tracks after that for a 90-minute mixtape. So this is what I would do. If I'm putting together a mix, if I'm putting together a best of, a greatest hits, and I want to get you excited and thrilled and wanting to listen to Black Sabbath, this is what I'm going to put on there for you. For side A of the vinyl, we're going to open up with Hole in the Sky. I think Hole in the Sky is one of the greatest opening songs of all time, man. The way it opens up the Sabotage album is just brilliant. Absolutely love it. I have it on my mixtapes right now. By the time you watch this, I'll almost be done with the mixtape, but it's on there right now. It's opening up what would be side 2 if I was listening to it actually on a mixtape as opposed to MP3. Just kicks it off. From there, we go into Zeitgeist off of the 13 album. I really struggled trying to pick which song I wanted to put on here. And the reason I went with Zeitgeist is I love the song Planet Caravan, but I didn't want to put Planet Caravan on here as a representative from the Paranoid album. There were many other songs off Paranoid I wanted to use instead of that. Zeitgeist has such a great feel and such a great vibe that reminds me so much of Planet Caravan off of Paranoid that I put that one on here because I thought it had a great vibe and it did what I wanted it to do. And I figured the best way to follow up Zeitgeist would be with the other mellow Sabbath song I'm going to put on here, which is It's Alright off of Technical Ecstasy. This is a song that I think was cruelly overlooked. Given a choice between Changes or It's Alright as the slow song from Sabbath, It's Alright should be the one that's used instead of Changes. It is infinitely better than Changes. The major difference is Ozzy doesn't sing on It's Alright. Bill Ward does. And I like it. Okay. Then we go into Embryo and Children of the Grave. I cannot put Children of the Grave on here and leave Embryo out. Cannot do it. They have to be on here. This is our representative from the Masters of Reality album. Oh, it's also my favorite Black Sabbath song. 2 songs. Because I've discussed this before. There's some songs where they go side by side. You automatically associate them side by side. They become basically a unit of one. 2 becoming 1. Embryo and Children of the Grave are that way for me. And fantastic. And then I finish off side 1 with something warm, cheerful, funny, and what I have said so many times is the most overlooked Black Sabbath song of all time, Never Say Die. I love this song. Infinitely the most overlooked Black Sabbath song of all time. I can't believe Ozzy hasn't even done it solo. In all the years of Ozzy out there solo, he should have done this song as well because it is such a good song. It has been cruelly overlooked for 40 years. 40 years. This song came out, I believe, in 78. If it wasn't 78, it was 79. So you're talking over 40 years, man. You're talking like a minimum of 43 years. This song has been habitually and cruelly overlooked. That's how I finished out side 1. Now, at this point, if you're not already like, whoa, that is nice, something's wrong with you. But let me take you into side 2. Because you're going to be thinking, well, man, what the hell am I going to do with side 2 after that's my side 1? All right. Side 2 opens up with Sabbath Bloody Sabbath off of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. This is another song that is a phenomenal opening song to an album. Why not open up side 2 of my vinyl with it? Fantastic song. Great song, man. I cannot speak enough of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It's one of those ones, I've never learned to play the whole song the whole way through, but when it comes to playing guitar, and I never consider myself really a guitarist, I know how to play enough to get by. I can talk guitar, shit like that. I'm a bassist at heart. But I have taken the time and effort to learn, some of the core riffs just to fuck around on them, right? And Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is one of those ones, man. That just, oh, fuck yes. And then the lyrics too. I don't talk about Sabbath lyrics too often, but Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, man, that's one of those ones where the lyrics, you see right through distorted eyes, you'll never learn the execution of your mind. You're gonna see them burn. Now, after being so hard and heavy, I need something a little more warm, a little more fun, a little more playful here. So, I'm going into my favorite song off of Paranoid, which is probably the most controversial song off Paranoid in the modern era, but I will defend this song to my dying day. And that is Black Sabbath, Fairies Wear Boots. And the reason why I will defend this song to my dying day is, yes, this song, when it was originally written, was written using a derogatory slang towards homosexuals, which is the term fairies, and the song was about a gay stripper. But if you take out the part in there, which is actually the opening part, where it's called Jack the Stripper, the do 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 da 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 do 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 da 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 do 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 da da do 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 ba 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 ba. Okay, so that'd be the Jack the Stripper part. And that's, you take the title off of there, you don't know that there's anything gay about this, okay? So you then take the lyrics and you look at the lyrics and you get to the point where you just picture, I always said I'd love to redo this song. I was just talking to my wife Tracy about this, and I said I would love to redo this song, and if I redid it, I would literally do it, shoot the video as an animated video, and I would have every member that has ever been in Black Sabbath over the multitudes of years sitting in like this weird dark taverny, British old school kind of out of Lord of the Rings kind of taverny bar. And I would have, little fairies, like, picture Tinkerbell all goth the fuck out, man, looking like, she belongs in picture Tinkerbell looking like she belongs in a Black Sabbath video. Tinkerbell and all her little fucking sexy little tiny Tinkerbell fairy friends. I love fairies, okay, folks? I got this real thing for fairies. Fairies are awesome. All right, so goth out all these fairies. And you have them dancing on the stage, man. And the reason you gotta goth them out is they have to have those long, super sexy boots that come up to their thighs, man. Ooh, hello. Are you the fairies here? I am here for the chauffeur. Yeah. Okay, so that is me once again defending Fairies Wear Boots as my favorite Black Sabbath song. That is the way I've always heard the song. That is the way I've always loved this song. I will always defend this song. It just had a shitty start. Okay, moving on. After talking about fairies, there's only one way to go from there, baby. We're going snowblind. I'm Canadian. Whoa, Great White Powder. All right. So yes, this song is about a little magic dust for Santa Claus, a little magic dust for a reindeer. The magic dust, yes, it is. I recently just covered the song, and as I said, I don't think this song is an accurate representation of what it is like to be on the illicit substance, but it is a really good tune, man. Really, really good tune. Really good. And the best part about this is if you actually know these songs, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, really hard, really heavy, whoa. Fairies Wear Boots takes the tone down, lightens it up a little bit, makes it fun, relaxed, chill. Snowblind, you get a mix of it where it's all over. And then we're going to finish this album out with Black Sabbath. I want to leave you with how it all started. That church bell ringing, that thunderstorm going on, and the boom, 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 boom. And they could this be the end, my friend? Satan's come around the bend. People going running scared. People that I go with me. Wow, no, no, please, God help me. You get where I'm going with that, man. Like, whoo! By the time that song's done, man, you know that boom, 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 boom. If you do not want to flip it back over to the side, want to get right back into this album again, or you're not like jonesing for more, there's something wrong with you, man. There is something severely wrong with you. And to give you more, let's move on to what I would add into the compact disc. Now, as I said, I made sure there was one song from every album on there. I did leave out one. And the one I left out would not fit. It had to be held over to the compact disc. And that is Selling My Soul off the Reunion album. Just not enough room for it on the vinyl. Sorry. All right. So we got Laguna Sunrise. Great little instrumental track. I'd have that follow up after Black Sabbath. Something nice and warm and fluffy. And leaves you floating there. Just nice. Then from there we go into Rat Salad off of Paranoid. Yeah. Another great instrumental piece. But Rat Salad takes it up a notch. Gets really jazzy and wicked and fun. I have always loved this piece. This was actually one of those songs that majorly inspired me to want to be a drummer because of the calls to between the drums and the rest of the instruments, the callback, the release, stuff like that. Fantastic, man. Absolutely great song. Wicked drumming on this one. Then we get into Sabra Cadabra. Great song, man. I love Black Sabbath's rendition of it. Black Sabbath does a great rendition of it. I love their take, but the original Sabra Cadabra, man. Oh, such a good song. Could not leave it off of a mix. Next track. This one's a little weird. I put this one on there because of how much I like it, and I really think that, you know, when it comes to Black Sabbath, you have to have more than one long song. And for the vinyl, I could only really fit two good sides. I mean, side B had 4 tracks on it because of the size of the tracks, right? You know, Fairies Wear Boots and Black Sabbath are both longer songs. So to get another longer song in there, I had to wait to the CD side, and that is Megalomania. This is not going to be a song for everybody with Sabbath, but if you enjoy Megalomania, man, you're definitely like, once you've gotten this far into it, you hit Megalomania, it's like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, all right. This is Sabbath. Because you've had a taste of everything you could possibly think of. And then I give you the Wizard. The Wizard, I wanted to put the Wizard in there earlier, but the main reason I wanted to put the Wizard in there earlier is because of the harmonica part. I love harmonica. I play harmonica. It's one of the few instruments I will admit that I actually play. You know, I play drums. I play bass. I play harmonica. Great song. It really, you know, it's a great song on its own, but just the harmonica. You know, it's just, and the guitar playing off of it as well and everything like that. It's just such a good song. Such a good song. And who doesn't like fucking talking about wizards, man? Never talking, just keeps walking, spreading his magic. Ow! And then we finish off with Selling My Soul off the Reunion album, as my computer decides to be a jackass. Um, Selling My Soul is a great song. I absolutely love Selling My Soul. However, the problem is it is an Ozzy song. I every time I hear it, I hear something off of the Osmosis album. I hear something off of the Black Rain album. Like it's Ozzy post No More Tears. You could even maybe lump it into No More Tears a little bit, but it definitely feels a lot more post No More Tears Ozzy. So for me on this is just kind of like, all right. But it is a good song. It's just not as Sabbathy as I think it could be. And then we have, now, as I mentioned, uh, vinyl 45 minutes, CD 74 minutes. The next is a 90-minute cassette, and I fill that out with basically 2 tracks. First off is NIB, but I don't do just NIB. I do the whole thing with warning and that in before it as well. Once again, if you're gonna do a song, do the whole thing. Do the full introduction and into NIB and everything. You want the full flavor of that, man. The full Black Sabbath flavor. And I think that is the way you get it, is by including that full intro version into there as well, with all the other little parts in it. And then finishing off with Sweet Leaf. Wait. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let's do this properly. Because I'm in Canada. I guess now I have to tell you the order that I listen to all these albums in. All right. Let's do this backwards, okay? So, the album I listen to the least often would be Black Sabbath's Reunion album. I just covered this when I did the review not that long ago. I don't mind the album. I enjoy listening to it, but I don't listen to it that often. When I do throw it on, it's usually for select songs, kind of zip through it real fast, take it off. Or if I've got multi-disc going in a CD player, I might put it in on a spin and a mix, but that's it. And the same thing goes with the next album, 13. I was so psyched for this album when it came out. Every part of me wanted to love this album, wanted to worship this album. I cried. I wasn't happy. I was very disappointed with this album. And some bands, when they get back together or they do stuff, they do a really great job. They can release some really great music. Some bands kind of fall into cliches, and the problem with the 13 album is it kind of fell into a lot of cliches. Some of them were good cliches, some of them were bad cliches. Overall, though, it didn't have the same capture that earlier albums did, where, you want to listen to the whole album almost from beginning to end. Another album that has that problem where you can't quite listen to it beginning to end, but you really want to. And this is the album I've had in my collection the shortest, is Technical Ecstasy. It's not a bad album. I think it's a highly overlooked album in all honesty. But doesn't mean you want to listen to it from beginning to end. You can definitely hear the struggles with the band in there. And the same thing with the next album, Never Say Die, which was the last album originally to feature Ozzy until, the 13 album, first full-length studio album to feature Ozzy. Never Say Die, I listen to it more often, I think, than I listen to Technical Ecstasy, because there are a couple songs on there I really do enjoy. But arguably, I could say that Technical Ecstasy is a better album than Never Say Die, possibly. I could go either way with that one, really. Then we get to Volume 4. Out of all the always covered in greatest hits discussions albums, Volume 4 is actually the one I've always liked the least. It's got great songs on it, but I just, there was something about Volume 4 that felt off. The band definitely was probably burning out and probably should have had a little time off. And instead of a little time off, they had a little nose candy. Um, and it's really weird because the next album that I get into after that would be the Black Sabbath album, which is when they're at their cleanest. But I listened to it probably as little as I listened to Volume 4. And the main reason for that one is there's not a lot of songs on Black Sabbath to start with. You got Black Sabbath Wizard, NIB with, Warning and all that, or stuff going on, Sleeping Village, Warning, all that stuff going on with that one in its intro. You've got a few other songs in there as well. And the problem is they're good songs, but they're not, they're just like, it's a few really good long songs and that's it. Great first album. Just not an album I listen to often. And that's what I'm saying, folks. I'm not saying that this is my order of preference, order of what I think are the best albums. This is just the order of the ones I listen to the most often. After Black Sabbath, or, moving up, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. This is another wonderful, amazing, great song for me. I love the album, the song, everything. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. When I got into Black Sabbath as a kid, my dad had the first two albums that my dad picked up on CD was Paranoid and Black Sabbath. And I listened to the hell out of Paranoid. Black Sabbath I didn't listen to as much, but Sabbath Bloody Sabbath I didn't listen to as much because it was a little more complicated, a little more sophisticated than my tastes were at the time. Whereas Paranoid, well, having some sophistication to it, was more raw metal, we'll say. So Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is great. After Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Sabotage. I love the Sabotage album, man. The Sabotage album is this fantastic cocaine-fueled insanity. It really is. I think it is another album that just overlooked in a lot of ways. A lot of amazing good songs on it. The problem is with Sabotage is it is an album full of great studio cuts or great album cuts. There's not a lot of major hits off of it. Like, yes, there are hits on it, but none that are major, like, whoa. I mean, like, yes, there are greatest hits on it, but there's no Paranoid on it. You know what I'm saying? There's no Iron Man on it. There's no song basically off the Paranoid album. But it is absolutely a phenomenal album, and I will definitely listen to the album over and over again. I do wish the remaster that I had was better than it is. I would definitely have liked a remaster where they had found a way to push the volume up on everything a little bit, brought it up to the same level as everything else in the remastered series, but Okay, last two albums. First one, can you guess what it is? You're going to guess wrong, unless you're one of my regular viewers. You're going to try and guess and say that the next album is Masters of Reality, but it's not. It's Paranoid. That's right. Paranoid is the Black Sabbath album I listen to second most often. It is by far, if we're going to argue over what is Black Sabbath's best album, all right, at the end of the day, I'm going to say that Paranoid is their best album. I can argue it, and my argument would be Masters of Reality is the better album, but Paranoid is by far the best album. I mean, when you look at the fact that when Ozzy plays live, Paranoid, War Pigs, and Iron Man were still regular parts of his set, and even Children of the Grave was a regular part of his set in the early days when he first separated. I've got the Randy Rhoads version of it, okay? So, like, this is one of those things where that was pretty standard affair for Ozzy then. And then you throw in Fairies Wear Boots, which is the standard affair live song, and I've talked about that one already. And then you get into some of the other stuff on that album. It is just a fantastic album. Like, it is by far the best album they've got. But I listen to Masters of Reality more often because I like the songs on Masters of Reality just that much more. Master of Reality is, if there was ever one Black Sabbath album I'm going to cover from beginning to end, it's going to be Masters of Reality. And it's not even ever that it has all my favorite songs. It has my favorite song, which is Children of the Grave. But the other songs on the album are just absolutely fantastic. Like, there is absolutely no bad track on this album. This is basically close to a perfect album. Paranoid probably is the perfect album. This is as close as you're going to get to the perfect album. You know, like Paranoid is a 10. Okay, I will go to the grave arguing that Paranoid is a 10. Masters of Reality is a 9.5. I just happen to listen to the 9.5 a little more often. Had a little fun with that, folks. I hope you had some fun with that too. I hope you had some fun watching this. I had some fun making it for you. I am going to be doing these rap parties every month now, where I go over and I'm going to basically use the exact same format, but different bands, different time eras. And the reason why I specify different time eras is, next up, Black Sabbath Dio years. We're gonna cap off the Dio years. Not as much to cap off there. We actually only have 4 albums we're gonna do. I am not doing Cross Purposes, which was a live album. I have no interest in doing it. I've covered more than enough live material with all the bonus discs for all the Black Sabbath Dio stuff I have covered so far. So that will be the next one that will be coming up. Look forward to doing that one for you. Let me know what you think, folks. Comment section. Leave me your list. What songs would you put together? At least 45 minutes worth. What 45 minutes worth of songs would you put together? Your ultimate 45 minutes to turn me on to Black Sabbath. Let me know. That is what the comment section is for. I want to know how you would turn me on to Black Sabbath in the comments section. You can give me your lists in the order of which ones you listen to the most often, you don't listen to the most often. I rambled on way too long. We're going to cut this one off here now. See how this goes in editing. Comments below, please. Like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications, link to Patreon. Peace, love, take care. See you in Dio.